Good afternoon. Man, the music gets me pumped up. It does every time. Whether or not I'm caffeinated, it gets me pumped up. I like my intro. I made that intro, by the way. It's going to get replaced soon. I have a media guy. He's going to do some good work. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy the intro because I took that beat from Canva. And I'm proud of that beat. Proud of borrowing that beat from Canva. Welcome to the show. I'm Max. If you're listening in, well, you're missing out on Icosa and Alex talk right now. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you diverting your attention to me and our guest today, CRYPTOGRFX. It's going to be a good stream. I know I say that on most streams, but I have a feeling. You know the song. We got a great, we're going through it behind the scenes here, and I think the content's going to be good. I think you are going to appreciate it. You're going to like it. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, mostly PulseX, CurveFi. We're going to talk about CurveFi as well, the hack and how that works, all that stuff. Some of the profitable strategies within the different projects in the ecosystem, and not just HEX and Pulse and PulseX, also Hedron and also Maximus and some of those projects too. Also, we're going to talk about splitting buying power. A special requested topic. I had a long conversation with on Telegram with Jerry Oaksmith. We're going to talk about that as well because there are, apparently it's controversial. I guess it is. We'll have to get Dixon Piper on again to really throw the hammer down on why, but hopefully I can explain it well. I'll try. I'll do my best. While being nice to every other person who's on the show has a token. I guess I have to consider that as well. Without further ado, let's bring in the guest. Welcome to the show.
Hey. What's going on, Max?
Man, a lot's going on. A lot is going on. We're going to dive into it.
We are.
Like all the going on stuff, we're going to get into that going on. You know what I'm saying?
Deep in there.
It's going to get deep. It's going to be deep. I think I think you have had one of the most meteoric rises of any streamer I've ever seen. Like you literally, I don't know how many months you've been streaming now. I know it's not been a year. But I remember seeing when you first came out, I watched a couple of videos. Wow, this is really good. This is really well put together. You know, the content's just super, meat and potatoes, like really substance stuff. And then I just kept seeing just like everything blowing up. And I could at the time I was like, the numbers, 1,000 subs keep going up. And I was even thinking in my mind, wow, I bet this guy is just getting overwhelmed right now. I bet GRFX is just like, I can't even look at Twitter anymore. 99 notifications. I was just imagining that for you at the time, a few months ago, because I could picture how that would be. I just wanted to say that too. I mean, I think you don't get enough appreciation of all the time and effort you put into your work. I just don't think you do. I think the subs are one thing, the numbers are one thing. I'm sure a lot of people, say things, but especially when I see someone creating content that I like and that I get a lot of value from, I want to make sure that that like people appreciate it, man. Like, I think it's top-notch stuff.
Really appreciate that. Like, wow, thank you. That really means a lot. And it was weird it was funny how fast things went. It was very spammy feeling where it's like, I go on Twitter, I go on YouTube, and it's like, I have no idea how to keep up with this. It was a crazy thing that just started. Honestly, I think it was just like, I happened to have a delivery at the right time when people were just really wanting the meat and potatoes because things were going on and there was so much going on. I just happened to be doing the thing that people happen to want. And it's just like, because now, honestly, everything is slowed down. And I think that's for all of us. We can really see what's going on under the hood as far as, what people are looking for, how many people are even looking for anything under the hood at the moment. So, but yeah, I think it was just right place, right time. But I'm thrilled that you and clearly a lot of people have thought that what I'm doing is great as well. So again, thank you. It's amazing.
Of course. No, I think you may have sent a signal that it's good to launch in the denial phase of a bear market as well. It was that was an interesting time. That was an interesting time. I think we'll all be looking back and saying, "Wow, it's nice to launch in any kind of bear market," as people allude to with coin launches and stuff too. For streamers, also applicable as well.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Yep.
But before the meteoric rise, give us an introduction. I know I could always use more information about you. I don't know much other than the excellent content, of course. How'd you come up with your name? How'd you come up with the channel? What made you decide to get into streaming? How'd you get introduced to Richard Hart and his products? How'd you get into crypto? All the good stuff.
Yeah. So I guess, I've always kind of been a if we go back, like way back until when I was probably in my teens, I played hockey growing up, and I had always, from then forward, I should say, always tended to gravitate to teaching. Like I was a goalie, and I was a fairly high level goalie. And so I always, at the goalie clinics every Wednesday and sometimes Fridays, I would go and I'd be the one, coaching and teaching the younger
You look
guys.
like a coach. I was gonna say you look like a coach for
I
sure.
look, okay. I
That's
had to look
good.
great. Okay. Yeah. It's
Yes.
nice. It was
Yes.
definitely who I am down deep as well. And so, yeah, I started doing that in hockey, ended up coaching, doing camps, and I transitioned to freestyle skiing. And this trend kind of continued for years and years. And in the background, I'd always been working on music. I've been a producer, formerly, I guess I'll say. Played guitar since I was like 13 years old. Been writing music since I was like 14, 15. And then started producing when I was around 19, 20. And just recently kind of got out of the game. But because of that, the whole YouTube world had kind of always pulled me to it. And I wanted to make a channel as a guitar player specifically. Like, I love super technical metal that also has a lot of melody and intricacy and really like a lot of groove as well. And so I started posting clips on like Instagram and stuff. And finally, after years of like self-doubt, I finally created a YouTube channel and posted 2 videos, and then just went right up against the wall I kept running into. And but that was like my start to like, okay, I finally did a YouTube thing. I finally did that. And right at that time, I had a business idea that I had with a friend who we were basically going to sell crypto clothes online, just try and make some money. It was like a business idea. And I came up with the name of CRYPTOGRFX, right? And because it was clothing, it was graphics, GRFX, right? And so we started that idea and was like, this is kind of just a leechy business idea that doesn't feel like it's actually giving value or doing anything. So we both kind of stepped away from it. And right at that time too, I had started a podcast with a really good friend about like just taking care of your needs and self-growth and like getting healthy, both mentally, physically, and spiritually in a sense, and financially as well. Yes. And so both of these things kind of intersected again later when the podcast kind of was going away, and CRYPTOGRFX had just started coming up again for me, where I had started a website. And right at this point, the guy who was doing the podcast with said to me, if you really want to challenge yourself, of course he's going to say this because the podcast was, he's like, if you really want to grow, you really want to challenge yourself, you need to start a YouTube channel or TikTok. And I'm like, I ain't going to TikTok. So I started the YouTube channel, and literally a month in, I had, 1,500 subscribers or something like that. And like 2 months in, I had 3,000 or 4,000. And now we're 5 months in and closing in on 9 now. So it's been
wondering, I was wondering about the swag and the merch. I was like, you're one of the few people who have stuff like that. And no wonder it's so easy to get into that once you were doing it before. Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, like, a lot of the tools at your disposal as a creator, or as someone like who is a creator, but you have the business that is like the core of what you do as well in the background. There's so many tools at your disposal to create these things. Like, this is a shirt that I made. It's like, it's so easy. Go on Canva, put a whole, like, I literally took a bull thing from Canva, cut it in half, change the colors on either side, and put the PulseX logo in the middle. And then, and it costs so little to do that. And these tools that we have to use, it makes it really easy. You don't have to be, I'm not a graphic designer. I'm not anything special. I'm, if anything, I'm quite lackluster when it comes to my designs on shirts. It just take what I have and put it on a shirt.
You're like a canvas, like Canva. I want to do a Canva testimonial as well. Like Canva is just, it's made everything media wise. Like, how do I do thumbnails? Without Canva, I don't think I could do thumbnails.
How would you? What the hell would you use?
I don't know. Canva seems to be the go-to solution.
Bust out the 64 pack and start taking photos of them.
I probably wouldn't. Like that's the point. Is like Canva and like productivity tools like this has made our job so much easier, and like been able to attract people and grow the channel. And like, I love tools like that literally take something and solve a problem and make it easy. Like, I mean, we can talk about that in crypto obviously as well. There's a ton of stuff making Pulse more valuable, but in real life, there's these tools that you're just like, oh my gosh, like this enables like people to be more productive in the world. And funny enough, I never thought I would have a website that would be so useful to me as such as Canva. So shout out Canva.
Shout out Canva. This isn't sponsored by Canva, but it could be.
It is totally not. There's no monetization on this channel, but if Canva came to me, that'd be a tough one to turn down.
Don't turn it down.
Yeah. Well, we can get into those principles as well, but Canva, I love you regardless of sponsorship. So how were you making videos before like RH stuff, or did that kind of go hand in hand?
Right. Oh, right. I forgot to touch on that. So I made 2 videos on two songs I made and I filmed it. That was the only YouTube content I had ever made. Aside from I had like stuff that I posted like from years ago, just random things that no one will ever watch and no one should ever watch. But essentially I found crypto I've known about it. I've kind of keep an open mind. I'm listening and paying attention to the point where like it's in my peripherals. And I kept it there though. And finally I don't know, I think it was maybe February. I finally caved and took a couple books from my parents who had been like, get in there. Like, you need to learn this stuff. And I think you'll like it, which is interesting that my parents were the ones who
Your parents got you into crypto?
Yeah. My mom's like very, very into it. My dad's also very into it.
Wow.
But my mom, just because of the way she's been able to work. Yeah, it was really cool actually.
Wow.
And so they, which is funny.
She's the other way around by far.
Well, it's funny now we actually, we came together in the beginning because like, yeah, you should learn. And we were on the same page. And then I found HEX and they're like, nope.
Oh,
and they're like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And then finally it's been like kind of slowly coming back. And I think we're there now, but it's been funny. But
wow.
So they showed me and got me into like crypto, and I started researching it, reading like Crypto for Dummies, Blockchain for Dummies, and started kind of diving in, but I still didn't know enough to understand anything. And I felt that though. I was like, I feel like I'm just throwing money into the casino, So I threw $200 at like SHIB and threw $200 at, I don't even know. It was like, some Internet of Things coin. I think it was, I don't even,
there's a IOP.
I think it was actually called IoT.
Or IoT. Okay.
I think that was the actual token ticker. Anyways, though, I threw a bunch of random token, $200 at a bunch of random things. And then they all went away quickly, obviously. Yeah. And so that summer I went up to a gold mine and had like 12 hours a day in a rock truck where I could just listen to content. And I happened to stumble upon Whales Only after hearing the word HEX from DCC in a Fresh and Fit podcast with Charlie and the real Robert Kiyosaki.
Oh, wow.
So I remembered that
through Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, I remembered that. And then later I researched what HEX was. Because like, what was that? And I found the note in my phone. And I went back and I like researched HEX and I found Whales Only. And I found his very first stream and everything changed. Wow. So researching who Richard Hart was. And the more I talked to people about it, the more difficult I found it was to, convince them of how great it was. So I needed to learn more and more and more and more and more. And next thing you know, I'm learning more about blockchain and crypto itself and why it is even good in the first place and why other things aren't even close to as good as what HEX is, and being able to, actually portray that in words that people can understand. It's not just the kind of theoretical stuff or just using big words that even I don't understand, trying to break that down more. And that led to CRYPTOGRFX originally because I knew about crypto. And then slowly that led to the first blog post being posted, and I think a few more where I started doing a few blog posts, which I know you want to get into a little later, but I started doing that. And then eventually it was the point of, dude, if you want to grow, you should start a YouTube channel. And obviously this is the only things I ever wanted to talk about would be anything to do with the Richard Hart ecosystem. So then it just kind of all came up organically.
So when you were looking at, so you found Whales Only video, when you were doing more research on HEX, I'm sure you went down the rabbit hole for a little while just to be like, to gain confidence, like, okay, like, is this what I want to get into? Did you see the scam stuff? Like, and if you did, like, how did it not turn you off? I'm always curious, like people who see Richard Hart, they see HEX, they see whatever, and then they see all the good, and then they see a lot of the bad, or maybe they see, one rather than the other first, usually the bad stuff first for some reason. Mm-hmm. How did you navigate that? How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think who I listened, like the 2 instances where I was first exposed to HEX, I'd listened to a lot of people talk about crypto and a lot of intelligent people talk about things, but there was something different about the way that DCC was speaking about HEX. And originally, the first time I was exposed to, and Whales spoke in a way that I've never heard someone speak. And it was so just logic based. And there was like, he was vetting himself as he spoke on why what he was saying was not a logical fallacy or it was not an inaccurate statement. It was backed by fact. And like for me, hearing that, it gave me confidence that when I did hear something about the scam side of Richard Hart, I was like, okay, well, everything I've read to this point kind of says that, you know, if someone's anonymous, technically that's the highest probability that, you know, you're going to have a scam involved. And obviously there's other things as well, but anonymity is a big factor to red flags, you know? And so he was open, and maybe he was hiding his last name, which hiding isn't even necessarily, he just used a different last name, right? But some people are saying he's hiding his last name. And so I was like, I don't know. Like this thing sounds pretty good. Like why would he design like, I don't know. These things weren't adding up, right? The more I learned about the protocol and what people were saying. And so I think having that perspective of the thing that he made is so good, how is like, I just don't understand how it would be a scam, kind of led me to be open. And I was reading and I wanted to know if it was a scam. You know, I went in and I was researching like the whole Spam King ordeal. I read deep into that because there's so many articles online. Yeah, there's so many articles online about this thing. But when you really take a step back and you actually look at the web page you're reading the words from, you realize very quickly that this is a very unofficial website. It's someone random on the internet. It's not an established business. It's not an established news source. It is some person that randomly posted on a web page that had either access to some sort of code that, or knew how to write code enough to put a website up, but they never had sources. They never had anything. It was just bleh, all on a page. And that was the consistently time after time I was noticing that. I was like, this is ridiculous. Why are people listening to this? It's not CoinDesk. It's not Coin Bureau. It's not anything legitimate.
Although they don't always write the best articles either. But yeah,
they don't.
I get the point.
It wasn't even that. That's the thing. It wasn't even something like that, which can still be taken at face value and then done deeper research. But even at that point, it was like, come on, guys, this is sketchy to trust this, you know? And for me, having that consistently play out as the thing that was like the red flag, was like this super sketchy looking red flag that people were trying to show at me. I was like, you got to do better red flags than that.
Even if it's true, I mean, even if Spank, you know, he got whatever sued for Sam, blah, blah, even if Panama's true, even if all this pass, how does it take away from the project? I don't get it.
Exactly.
It's been like 20 years. Who gives a shit? A bunch of stuff happened 20 years ago. Everything he's done in the last 5 years has more than made up for anything he's ever did in his life. I mean, it's not like he murdered a bunch of people or something. He like got sued for Spank. He didn't want to show up for court and like default judgment, blah, blah. Like every criticism I read, because I want to know, like I'm like very discerning with information too. For the last few years, every single criticism, like legit criticism, I want to hear it. And I want to decide for myself whether it factors in, you know, whether I invest projects like Rich or whatever. I've never heard anything that's made me like similar to you. I never heard anything where I've been like, oh yeah, maybe he's not such a good guy. I'm like, who cares? Like he's creating these crazy products. Like who cares about Spam King? Who gives a shit? He's not doing it anymore. Like he's putting so much good in the world compared to anything he's ever did before. Like, why do you care? Why did people latch on to that one thing he did, you know, 20 years ago? This stupid anyways. Like it's ridiculous. So
it's because it's all they got on him. And he's winning so hard, and the people that don't like him, right? They want to have something against him. They need something because they don't like him and they don't know why, but they don't like him. And if he wins, then that's bad for how they feel about him, right? And it's like a sports team. Yeah. You never want to see your least favorite sports team win, especially if it's against your favorite team.
I like the analogy. It's like team, you know, hate Richard Hart versus team love Richard Hart. And it's like we're trying to get, so that's the thing. I wish more people had your experience. They heard wells. They saw good articles. They got invested, they got like the good feels first. And then they saw some some articles about criticism, blah, blah, blah. And then they read it and they're like, I don't know, seems okay. Like I would love for it to be flipped around. But today I feel like we lose so many onboards because they Google. And I know the front page is much better than it used to be. I think maybe a lot of stuff, there may be like one article, which I got to say, I've said this before, the WantFi article, that is the best researched one, even though I don't agree with the conclusion, obviously. The WantFi article, the brilliant scam thing, they actually did a lot of good research. I'll say that. They did a lot of good, they did a lot of research. I don't agree with the conclusion, but at least they did their homework on that one. But then even at the end, they're like, oh yeah, and that doesn't change anything, even though we like poked holes in half of our criticism. It's actually a fairly objective article, but then they just conclude with, and then, believe the title. I'm like, that could have been done better. But anyways, that one is maybe on the front page or maybe on the second page. But I wish more people had the experience of just seeing the good and then, okay, change my mind, prove it's a scam, instead of saying, prove it's not a scam to me, which is what like 99% of people do when they run into HEX, I imagine. Be on the other side, be like, prove that it's not, prove that it's a scam. Like show me how, because I don't see it. I look at the chart, I don't see it. So
it's like a common thing that I've seen through, and I'm sure you've seen it too. It's like a proven guilty until innocent, or what is like usually proven innocent until proven guilty, right? But now it's guilty until proven innocent, and that's like just a trend that's carried over into this as well, I think, which is
and the mental model of it takes so much more energy to refute a lie than than to accuse a person of doing something wrong. Yeah, Richard talked about that before too. It's unfortunate, but I don't know. Do we just keep winning? Is that the solution? We just keep, you're like, okay, is it still, like the number keeps going? Is it still a scam? Is it still a scam? Is it still a scam?
I think that's all we can do, man. I think honestly, there's always going to be those people that, like, there's people to this day that still think Bitcoin. I mean, like, you could argue Bitcoin. It could. I mean, no. Like at this point, you could argue people that have been saying Bitcoin's a scam since like $3, right? Yeah. And well, obviously, there's the argument for Bitcoin being whatever it is nowadays. I mean, to say like something can't, like, it's a scam and it's going to fail all the way to this point. The people that are still shouting that from the rooftops are probably like teeny tiny percentile now. Yeah. First, and that's what's going to happen with HEX too, except HEX is obviously quite different than Bitcoin. And over time, the more we win, the more those people are going to be converted. There's going to be left those people who are just like so closed off to reality and so unwilling to see truth that they're still going to be yelling from the rooftops, the only rooftop that'll let them stand on it in the entire world and yell it. Yeah. And I think that's how it's going to go,
anonymous forums. It'll be
yeah, exactly.
Like some corner, there'll be some form of like, bitcoinsucks.com. There'll be like some forums of like, everyone come here to like, to mentally masturbate about Bitcoin being so bad. Yeah, by the way, there's nothing wrong with Bitcoin. I know in the community we're like, oh, Bitcoin sucks, but because we're in it for price performance. Yeah. Bitcoin's kind of like the stock market, baby gains. There's nothing really wrong with Bitcoin though. I mean, Bitcoin is fine. But if you want mad gains, Bitcoin's not your tool. Do not use Bitcoin for mad gains, but it's fine. I mean, we can speak objectively. I want you to brag about yourself a little bit though. I think, I stroked your ego a little bit before, and for good reason. Totally telling the truth on everything I said. But I want to know like some highlights too. I think give us some numbers of like some of the things you've done. Do you feel like what are you most proud of that you've done so far? Like what are the key events or the key things you feel like you've contributed the most? Because you've done a ton of things, a ton of utility in the community. But what are some of your favorite things you think?
Some of the favorite things, I think one of the things that I've brought to the table most is, and this is going to be completely different to what you're expecting here. Okay. So from the beginning till now, behind the scenes, what everyone doesn't see is like my own stuff and like we all have this stuff going behind the scenes that none of us see. We see about 0.5% of someone's life and who they are and what they're going through. Yeah. And for me, this journey of putting myself out there has allowed me to, bring myself fully forward out in the open and be real at all times, which has actually given me more confidence to go into this whole, basically the technical side of things, breaking down numbers, going in and making huge spreadsheets, which I would say is one of the things that is starting to be something that I'm if I can say proud. I don't even like to say stuff I'm proud of. It's just things I do and that have come out.
That's why I'm asking you. I know you won't do it by yourself. That's why I'm trying to get you in. Like, give us some of the good stuff. Tell us, like, how has it changed you? Like, how has the things you worked on either, not just made you a better person, but you'd be like, wow, I feel like I really made an impact for the community by doing this. But not a lot of people. Maybe people, kind of it just went over their head or something.
Right. Well, one of the things that actually was really, really cool was in the beginning. So I have a crypto consulting side of CRYPTOGRFX, which I do in the background, which helps support the channel. And one of the things that I think I did very well, which I've been thinking about doing again, but I gave away, I think it was 12 hours of calls over the month of May. And nice. What was the most cool about that, it wasn't just like, cool, pat myself on the back, did some kind of philanthropic kind of thing. It was more like the willingness from people to learn was just so cool. And I was just, it felt really good, honestly, to give in that sense. And I think that's one of the other things that I'm starting to understand about, myself is that, it's really great to have money. It's really good to make money. It's good to, build a business and do all these things, sustain yourself. But every single time I give a little bit, it's 10 times more rewarding than what I get, and the hard thing is I can't give enough right now. So really what I've learned from this is I need to be in a place where I can give so much more than I have. And what I have is so much more than what I've ever had. So I can give to a point. And that's what I'm learning. And what I'm most proud of is knowing now that like, that's the direction and that's where I'm going to go. And that's where CRYPTOGRFX is going to go. And I don't know what's going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. It might happen in 5 years, but
yeah. And I'm sure have you, I don't want to ask have you did it, but I think probably in the community, there's a lot of people who spend a lot of time, energy, and their own money. Like for me, it's nothing. I'm not bragging on myself or anything. I'm just putting it out there. I don't think a lot of people really like, it doesn't make sense to them or something. To me, I don't to promote HEX. Why wouldn't you spend your own time and effort, even if you're not making it back? Like investing long-term, to me, that compound interest is going to start building up. I've donated to people I've never even, I've given donations, didn't put my name on it. I don't need that kind of praise. I just want to better the community. But I think there's some people look at that and they're like, oh, why would you do that? Well, you're not getting anything in return. It's like, I don't think the point is not to get something immediate in return. The point is to support the community, and we all trickle down winning. That's how I've been trying to popularize that through Richard Hart. The more he's successful, the more we are, and helping the community. It doesn't need to always be this quid pro quo type of thing. You don't need to be, making money in the background in order to help people. You can just do it. You can just, I'm giving a bunch of stuff away at PulseCon. If you go to PulseCon, by the way,
I would love to. I am not going to be able to make it.
Killing me.
I know.
All right.
Killing myself and not being able to go to. But
well, if you were, I'm giving away a bunch of free Richard Hart swag, and I'm not asking for anything in return. And to me, that is totally normal. But some people are like, "What do you mean? Like, it doesn't have your name on it? It doesn't have like, what do you like?" There's always like this motive, but behind paying it forward or something. No, I've been successful. I've among a lot of other people, have made money in HEX and made money doing a lot of things. And like, why wouldn't I just want to like spread the love and give people stuff and like help them have a good time and help, kind of bring them up in the bear market? It's some people, I don't know. There's like no motive for me. Am I weird or something? Am I weird for like just spending my own money to like give people stuff? Or
I think the question that I would have if I was that, like looking at what you're saying and also how you're framing the other person, the person who maybe can't see how investing in the community without any expectation of return. What do you think it would be? Oh, hold on. Let me think about how I was going to phrase that question again. What would you like if you were in that position? You hadn't made any gains. You just found out about HEX, and then that like since let's say last September at the top, right? You're either broken even or you are down.
Or you're broke.
You're down bad.
Yeah.
How do you like, what mindset do you have going into that where you're down quite bad, you're still wanting to give in that sense? Like, do you think you could still do that? Or is that something that's easier because you've had some success, even if it's a couple X's, is there a difference there in your mindset based on what you've gone through?
Yeah, I definitely think you can be more generous with when you're not broke and stuff like that. Maybe that's why in the bear market you don't see a lot of giveaways. You don't see a lot of people, putting themselves out there without, trying to make money at the same time. I guess that's a good point too. But if I was new into HEX and I was, coming across the community and someone was just like giving me free knowledge, free stuff, free coins, free whatever it was, I would be like, wow, I like this community. Like they're giving me stuff. Like they're helping me, get on my feet in this way. And I think that's a good perspective though, to look at both sides, but I don't know. I think just some people, they just can't wrap their heads around just like giving without expectations of return. I think that's a good way to put it. And I think that's unfortunate. I think that's a mindset I hope we all adopt one day, where if you have plenty. And it's not about socialism, none of that stuff. I'm just saying, if you have plenty as an individual and you want to help the community, you want to do more, you don't have to put your name on it. So many things I've done, I've put my name on and I expect nothing in return. But I don't see a lot of people following that thing. They either, they want to sell you something or they want something else from you. And I don't know, maybe it's just the way I was raised. I was like,
Yeah, and I'm honestly, I get stuck in that a little bit too, because I'm one of those
Jerry,
guys.
free airdrops. Not the time, Jerry. Not the time.
Free airdrop.
Sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
it's all good. Oh, I was just going. Basically, oh, where was it just going? It was so close. Hold on, or it's right there. Oh yeah, because I haven't been that guy who's found. So I found Hex at the top, and right now we're at hopefully the bottom. And so while I have accumulated and made some I'm down bad, like a lot of us. And I find myself though in that camp where it's like it's hard to feel like you give. But the one thing that I'm realizing as we're talking about this is when we think about like the cup that we have that we're going to give from, if we're thinking about the cup as a financial cup, we're looking at it wrong. Resources in general can come from our energy, our words.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to come just from the ability to spend our money to do things. Like we can just share knowledge, we can share energy, we can like you can really smile at somebody every day, and and maybe just at the end of their smile when they're about to look away, you say hex.com and hand them a flyer. It could literally be something or anything. It doesn't have to be like
hex.com,
financial
motherfucker.
burden.
Slap them with a sticker.
Exactly. Sticker to the forehead.
Yeah. That's how you onboard people right there.
That is the way. Somebody film that, please, and put it on YouTube.
Oh, it's been
TikTok.
Jerry, clip that, please.
Yeah, exactly.
Please clip that.
Oh, amazing.
Nice. Well, speaking of cups, I got a new cup here. This is from the last bear motherfucker.
Well,
this is from the last bear market, and institutional is coming, and it's got Square holding JP Morgan, I think, that's just reaching in the chest of Bitcoin and stuff there. Yeah, that's
oh my god,
my new cup.
Awesome.
Reminiscent of the last bear market. That this was a very popular meme back then. I wish I knew who made it. I don't know who made it, but I put it on a cup. So
I like it. I like it a lot. That's awesome.
Part of the free swag, though. Part of the swag I'll be giving away at PulseCon. There'll be some maybe some mouse pads, maybe some pins like that. I really enjoy the writing with the pins. It always makes you smile. So
nice. Yeah. I'm sure people are gonna love those. They're gonna eat those up.
What are you expecting? What is your motive? No.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a question from Bob. Currency is the current you see of your responsible steward, powerful tool instrument. That's deep.
It's very poetic.
Yeah, I like it, Bob. I like it. Yes, like it. I agree. I think we had another question earlier. I just want to check real quick before we get into the technical stuff. I know we've been bantering for a while. I enjoyed the banter though.
This is great. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, wait, another question. Let's see. Oh, would you recommend people use their mom's credit card to buy the dip? You want to take that one, graphics?
I mean, depends on how your current relationship is with your mom and how your desired relationship is with your mom is. I'd say based on those two factors, that would give you your answer. You need a flow chart. If yes to both, or
yes,
like one of those.
The next video you make sure to maybe a bonus material, you can cover that.
Yeah, we'll do the flow chart for mom's credit card.
I like it. Mom's, you can do a slide for dad's credit card, do a slide for a stolen credit card, slide for all of it. Yes.
Yeah, I love
Great
it.
Question.
20-minute video.
Jerry. Okay, mine says Jordan B. Peterson thinks trust might be your sole resource.
Could be.
Yeah. I like me some JP. I haven't heard that one from him, but it makes sense. I would like to. Yeah, send that video. Link or tweet me that video too. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that as well.
Yeah, he's good. Oh yeah, from Canada. There you go.
Oh yeah,
local boy. That's right.
Yep, definitely.
Curve Finance, curve.fi. So it's something I want to talk about for a minute. It got apparently the front ends, aka website, got hacked. And what we know from what I've seen so far is that apparently they so when you hack a website, by the way, if you can basically, this means you can modify the website, right? It just means like you can insert new pages, new code, whatever can run in the browser, you can put that in. And it depends on what level of access you have to and all this stuff too. But apparently the DApp, the smart contract on curve.fi got switched with another one, and a lot of people went to use it. And I think there was also, they've been saying DNS spoofing, but I think more accurately, again, in the security industry here, it's more accurate DNS hijacking. So it seems like, if I were to speculate on how the attack happened, it seems like they got access to the DNS settings, which control, curve.fi. It will, the the owners of the website can say, okay, curve.fi, it points to this IP address or this server, or whatever is correlated with it. But if the attacker got access to those DNS settings, they hacked like the portal, the admin portal or something for the website, they could change and point them at something else, like the attacker's website. So I don't even think the front end, I don't even think the code got changed on the original website. If it was a DNS hijacking attack, they actually just made a website that looked exactly the same with the malicious DApp on there. And then they changed the DNS settings to point the IP address of the server to the malicious server, which would host the malicious website and malicious DApp and the malicious smart contract, all that stuff. And then, so how would you prevent against this? I'll drop a link to my malicious smart contracts blog post as well, where I cover a ton of these different things, and also the protection advice for general stuff, which also applies to this attack. But basically, if they do that, they change the DNS. If the website is running with a HTTPS, which has SSL/TLS certificate there, and you see the green icon in your browser, green means good. Green means the browser has this list of all this stuff, and it can tell you whether the website has changed its certificate or not. And if it's been hacked or redirected or DNS hijacked or whatever, the green will turn to red. And red means bad. Yeah. Red means we can't verify this is the server you actually want to talk to, which I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I didn't go to curve.fi while it was still hijacked. But I imagine if you were to go there when it was hijacked, you would get a red, warning in your browser. Mm-hmm. You probably have to click through and say, I'm sure. Yeah, please. No, I want to get hacked anyways. Please just let me access it, which is easy to do when you just want to go to, curve.fi and you just don't want to mess with anything else. And then once you start doing that on your MetaMask, so another way you could prevent against that. So one is look at the red on your browser. Is it red or green? Red means double check. Do not proceed with giving them money. Green means probably okay. The other thing you can check is and I know this is hard for the average user, but if you go to Etherscan and you're able to look up the contract address for curve.fi, and you can see the legit contract address. And when you connect MetaMask, I suspect when it was hacked, it's going to ask you for another approval because you've already given approval probably to the legitimate one. And now you want to give, it's asking you to get your approval for the malicious one. So another sign other than the red thing in your browser is asking for another approval because it's a different smart contract. Now, if you've already given approval before and it's asking for it again, that's suspicious because it already has it. So that's the second clue. And the third clue is now that you know the legitimate contract address for the curve.fi contract, you can compare that to the one in MetaMask when you're doing a transaction. If they don't match, if the legitimate contract address you found on Etherscan does not match the contract address of what you're interacting with on your MetaMask prompt, do not continue, reject, because that is not the contract you're interacting with because the addresses are not the same. So that's 3 ways to protect yourself on those types of attacks. And again, I'll drop the link to the blog. Again, this is what we know now that I've read in blog posts and what I'm speculating on how the attack happened. I may be off in some way, but I feel like that's the most straightforward way of explaining it. And that's probably what happened. So if you want to look at all the protections and other smart contract scams and hacks and stuff like that, go to the blog, check that out, and that'll teach you how to protect yourself in different ways.
That's really cool knowing about the green and the red light, though. I wonder if anyone saw that and they just didn't know what they're looking at. And is that like a typical thing that most people see on their browser, or is that legitimately something that you have a specialized browser for? Because I think I might have missed or overstepped or missed that part when you're saying it.
Yeah. So if you look at your Chrome browser, it's got a lock on it.
Yeah, of course.
And if you click on the lock, sometimes different browsers show green, different browsers just show the lock.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good point too. If it doesn't show green or red, it's just it'll show red if something's really wrong. It should be like a strike through the lock or something.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. If that, it means proceed with caution, and especially if you're giving money to this site, do not do that because either their certificate is expired, which is another sign of, hey, how legit is this website? They can't even update their certificate. Could be something temporary wrong, but you don't want to take a chance. If it's like, some other way, well, I wouldn't say ever take a chance on it because I can tell whether it's going to be a exploit website or not a lot of times
Mhm.
versus the average person. So I'm not going to try to give advice on how to determine that stuff. But
Right.
if you ever see red to the left of your URL, or you see a broken lock or any kind of warning, do not interact with the website if it's a money thing, if it's a crypto thing, if it's a DApp thing. Just don't do it. Wait till it's fixed.
Yeah, I've seen that many times. I'm pretty sure Chrome's good too. Like usually it'll pop up and say like this connection is unsecure or it's not private or something, and like that's like the preemptive window of like, do you know what you're doing?
Yes. So if it says it's not secure, that means it's just running HTTP, which is unencrypted, which means it's basically harder to tell if the site is legit or not.
It's kind of more open source where anyone could go in almost.
No, not. It's not about the access to the code. It's more about do they have? So 10 or 15 years ago, HTTPS was very rare. It was only on like credit card websites and stuff. But ever since the Snowden leak and the NSA stuff back then, everything's like HTTPS everything, because there's all these attacks you can do on non-HTTPS websites, non-encrypted websites. So that's a can of worms. Come to my security AMA in like 2 or 3 weeks and ask that question, and I will answer it in full detail, because that's actually a good question. But it kind of we get into the weeds a little bit on it. But that's a great question of like, what is HTTP versus HTTPS? What does an encrypted connection mean? How does it protect you? What does it not protect you against? That's a really good question, actually.
Okay, I'm gonna remember that. Yeah, HTTP versus HTTPS. Okay, I got it.
Yes, but the people don't want to hear about the security shit. Pretty sure. They stay tuned for the Curve 5, but now they're only here for the GRFX. You like that? You like that intro?
I like
Great
that.
segue,
I like that.
right?
A lot of pressure, but I like it.
No pressure. No pressure. I don't think you feel pressure anymore, do you? You overcame it.
Yeah, it's actually fun. I want to know about that with you too, because I mean, when I first started, I was like, I was thinking about like every word and like that's why if you look at my early videos, every single word I said was on the screen, because I'm like, I'm not going off the cuff.
Yeah, that's right.
I want everything out, and I want everything to be perfect, because I don't want to try and like make this up on the fly, because it never worked out, even when I was like talking to people regularly. And then over time,
I totally didn't think you were reading it. Like it worked. I was like, oh, that's just notes, and like it's good for instead of doing the captions. I never thought because you didn't want to remember it. That worked, man. That was good.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, no, that was definitely like, I mean, I'm not nothing off the cuff. I'm literally gonna read what I write, and that's actually where I got my blog style from. Was I would literally write the entire presentation, and then I would copy that and reconfigure it in a blog, and then it was done.
Yes. See, frictionless. I like it. It's the same thing I do with interviews too. Do the interview. I don't have to set everything up, do all the writing ahead of time. I get good guests on here. They write the content, and then I clip it up. It's like, I love this frictionless. I'm getting some what do you call it? Deja vu with when I had Dip Catcher on here. We were talking about the same thing. We're talking about how to like minimize the friction when creating content. And yes, you just made me thought of that like 2 months ago, that conversation.
Oh, that's awesome.
But your question about like, getting nervous and all that stuff. Yeah. If you go back and watch like my first, I don't know, I still don't feel like I was that nervous, because I've interviewed people a lot for work. Like I've interviewed developers, I've interviewed just all kinds of different people. I've interviewed other people have interviewed me. I went through 10,000 interviews before for jobs and different stuff. So I'm actually like, at this point in my life, when I started streaming, I was very comfortable just talking to people. And of course, my first stream, I was like kind of sweating. I was like, oh, how do I transition? What kind of segments do I want to have? Things like that. But I think after the first or second, I was like, no, this is just having a conversation. And it's not like you're in a crowd, like you don't see the crowd, right? You see the chat, you see the numbers. But it's different than being on stage. When you see the crowd, you see people. You see people coming in and out. You see people looking at you. You find someone to stare at. Those kind of things you don't have to worry about online. So it really was a more pleasant transition than I expected, actually. But is that how you overcame it? You kind of just put everything on the screen to kind of get yourself comfortable, and afterwards you're like, oh yeah, I did this a million times now.
Well, I think there was a massive difference between streaming and the videos. The videos, I had to do that because if I just went on and recorded the video, it was just like, I don't even know where it would have gone. I think I realized right away that trying to recite information that I had in my head off heart, I didn't understand it fundamentally enough, like deep down, where it was so easy to just let it flow outwardly because I had so many different ways of explaining it. I wasn't quite there yet. But with this, and then, so that helped with the videos and also helped me get more comfortable but streaming took a little while. Just seeing the number of people on there, seeing people, like actual real people typing in the chat, and like whatever I said, people would comment on, and just seeing, especially over the first few months when it was like, or first like month or two, it's the numbers climbing. Like it went from like a 20 people, then like 30, then 40, then like 100, then like next thing you know, it was like, I think the highest was 330 at one point. And
wow,
which was like nuts. I'm like, still kind of can't believe it. But as those numbers were climbing, you know, it started to feel a little bit more natural. But in the first couple of days, like I had my guitars in the background. I actually don't have them anymore, but I had them originally. And I remember the first time I played, my hands were like this on, like, I was so nervous. And it is a time thing though. You just start to realize, like, whatever, you just stay calm, and then you're not trying too hard to say anything. You're just speaking because you're saying what you're trying to say. And that's all you're trying to do. As you're just nice and calm on screen. It just takes some time.
I think so. I think it's so much easier than public speaking. Like speaking on the internet, it's just, especially when I'm speaking to you, I feel like we're just talking. We're just hanging out and talking. I don't feel like there's all these people watching, even though they are. And the people who are watching, especially when we get good comments and questions, they're contributing to the conversation too. So, man, I literally thought it'd be harder than it is. And I'm so glad it wasn't. I'm so glad it was like an easy transition, because
it really is.
And I was going to say, be like my 50th interview if it hadn't been such an easy transition. That might have been harder.
Right. Well, honestly, we're pretty lucky that we have the community that we have, because everyone's very open and, for the most part, quite kind and very easy to talk to. And even if they disagree with you, they'll come at you in a way where it's non-interrogative, and it's more just like open dialogue. And I think that's made it
good
so
intentions.
much. Exactly. Right. The intention behind what we're talking about, or like why I'm here, why you're here, is never like any kind of like jabby, malicious kind of stuff under the surface. You know, it's pretty damn genuine, if you ask me. And so I think that's also what's made it easier to transition, because a lot of times when I'm like, holy shit, I got whales only on my stream for the first time, you know, it's like, we're just talking. It's just like, he just like, when he sees that, I can almost feel him like helping me out, because he sees like, I don't know how to say anything, because like what he just said is way over my head even. Those kind of things, you know, and it makes it so easy to have those kind of people in the community that are there to help you out, even live when something is going wrong. It makes it so easy to be able to do it. And you have like a fail-safe person there that has the best intentions for themselves and you in that situation.
Yeah, Wells is one of the people who welcomed me, and I remember coming on the stream before I started my channel. I came on one of his streams, and super like gave me a great introduction. You know, just like super welcoming. Had him on the show. I think my fourth show or so. Had him on. I mean, it was just great. He's definitely done a lot for the community.
He has
authenticity. I think it's what you're touching on too. Authenticity. Like there's only one CRYPTOGRFX. There's only one RHMax. There's only one Wells only. Like, if you can keep that brand and keep that authenticity and like, you know, I know it's a kind of oversaid by now, but like say the truth. Like don't like, you know, don't. Again, that's another reason I don't monetize my channel. I'm not saying people who monetize their channel aren't telling the truth. I'm not saying that at all, but I think it helps keep me straight too. When it's literally just me, my ideas, and a conversation between me and another person that's coming out. And there's no, it's not like, you know, it's not tainted in any other way. So that's authenticity. That's what I want to say through it. So you can't buy it. You can't. There's only one of that person. Once you become authentic, you only become one of you. There's no copying you after you're authentic. So.
Well, 100%. I think that the monetize button, you know, is a test of your authenticity too. Like, are you willing to stand your ground and say like, yeah, I'm willing to get paid for this, but I'm also not willing to lie and to mess anyone or screw anyone over, even though I'm getting paid, and understand that I may get paid less because I'll say the truth, but I could also get paid more because of it. And either way, it is what it is. I'm standing right here saying what I need to say. You know, it's a test of that, really. Yes,
and not everyone passes the test, but if you're authentic, you can pass that test very easily. So
100%.
It's funny. Like I think my most controversial video so far, I released it maybe a day or two ago, was PulseChain 2023 ? Maybe it's better this way. And oh my God, I've never had so many negative comments. And I'm at the point where I haven't learned not to engage yet. I'm just like, unless they're just insane. Okay, I'll try to like have a little give him my opinion and put a smiley face in there and let him know that I'm not arguing. I'm just like, you're wrong, but I'm gonna tell you why. And man, it's been funny. Some of the comments, I'm like, wow, I never thought I'd run it. I mean, I guess I'm not trying to be naive either. I knew eventually once the channel grows, you'll have people who say things that aren't going to either say them the most intelligent way or are going to have malintentions as well. And luckily I've only had like one troll, but he's kind of nice. So we let him talk. He says things that half don't make any sense and half are provocative, but like also I'm like, maybe he has a point sometimes. So we don't ban Surge. Surge is not here right now.
Surge, nice.
He may jump on. Maybe from Serbia. We're not sure if he's from Serbia or not, but he gets a lot of Serbia comments.
That's pretty funny.
Anyways, that was PulseChain 2023 ? When I first wrote it, I was like, I think some people won't like it, but I never imagined it would be like, whoa, you're the reason RH is delaying. I'm like,
oh my
really?
God.
I'm the reason? I'm pretty sure he does not listen to me at all. Like he is like he said, I was on the conference with him the other day, and I was the college kid or something.
I remember that.
Yes. He doesn't even know RHMax. So
right.
I mean, he does follow me. I will say he does follow me, but still he follows a lot of people. So I don't really think he knows who I am. So anyways, it was just preposterous. Like I'm the reason, me with like 1K followers who made a video, like I'm the guy. I don't think so. I don't think that's you can back that up with data. I would say that.
No, unfortunately, I don't think any of us have that kind of sway behind the scenes.
No, I don't think if Crypto Coffee made a video that said PulseChain 2023, he would get like 500x more hate, and then but still, would Richard even have came across it? Probably not. He's pretty busy right now. He's pretty busy with the US tour.
Right. Hey, that might be a good way. That might be a good way to stoke virality, though, in the idea of PulseChain. Is to put something controversial out there, and get people, fire people up a little. It might not be the best. It might be a little closer to outrage marketing, but I
try to do so. I don't mind to say things that may be outrageous, but I don't want to be clickbait. That's where I draw the line. I want, when you click on my videos, I don't want you to be like, whoa, that was total BS. I don't care if you feel super positively or feel super negatively about the topic, because that's how you get to the truth. You look at each side, you determine what you believe, and you go from there. But I'll try. I don't want to do the clickbait part of it. I don't want to get people I don't want them to ever click on a video and be disappointed because I misled them. So that's what I try to not to do.
That is,
but outrageous stuff,
so fair.
Totally. Outrageous is fine. Clickbait, I prefer not.
Right. So treading that line, if there's even a line between them, or they're just completely separated. I don't know. I haven't thought about it enough, but interesting to think about. I probably wouldn't go there either. I'm the same way. I think I've come close maybe one time and I realized it. But
emergency stream.
Yeah. I've never done that. I did the video that I did was like how PulseChain could 10,000x in 1 year. And
that's fine. That's outrageous, but it's not clickbait. Like as long as you talk about the steps and stuff, that's fine.
Yeah, and I did. I broke it down. I told about how much adoption we'd need, what people would have to do, and I was like, that was the closest. And I felt even then, I was like that was stretched it a little bit, And but it was still, I guess,
you should feel that. That's good that you feel that. Like that shows integrity that you feel that.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, you need that. You need that kind of conscious if you want to be authentic. Yeah,
totally.
We're about to get technical here, man. I swear to God, we are. But Bob has a question. Movie release will not include Pulse launch. Most likely, it's already done a large part. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I feel like for months they've had the documentary done, and they're like, send us some more stuff because we need more content. I'm like, I thought you had like billions of hours of content already.
Weren't they in talks with investors already?
I'm not hating on the producers. They love you, the highest of stakes producers. But I don't know how you still need more content. But I'm sure you're not. I'm sure you're telling me. I'm sure you want to make the best documentary ever. But back to the question, not include Pulse. Yeah. I mean, watch my video, PulseChain 2023. And it talks about, hey, we talk about a bunch of different things, but the timing aspect, bear market timing, we talk about documentary too. Like, I think Richard, I would say, I'll just say this on it. Richard has been pretty firm that documentary happening 2023, January 2023. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Or now he says end of year, but I'm sticking with, hey, conservatively January 2023.
Yep.
Now, wouldn't the best time for at least new holders, and again, Richard is not here for us, we're already in, for new people to onboard, wouldn't it be the best time to launch with the documentary? In the documentary, it's like, also, Richard's new product is now launching. Go to PulseChain.com and then, kind of make that kind of sequence. Wouldn't that be best to have it at a further down the bear market, for example, and have this huge launch pad called the documentary? I think you can make a case. That would be if you want 10,000x to be the most possible thing that could ever happen, you want you want the stars to align. And is Richard doing it? Is he not? Who's to say? But I could make a case for it. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's so hard to honestly, at this point, I'm just sitting back and it's here when it's here. And I don't even like speculating anymore. I'm just assuming it's coming sometime in the distant future, and I'm good with it. I don't even like to speculate, honestly, anymore.
I just, you don't want to be outrageous.
No. You know what? We've been wrong now. I've hyped up my family and friends and people on YouTube and Twitter so many times now that I'm just like,
Mom, Dad, you're going to want to get on into this?
Yeah. 2 weeks. 2 weeks till we're live.
No. 2 more months.
Now it's 2 more months. Mid-May.
Yeah. Mid-May. You didn't say what year.
That's true. I was not wrong yet.
Mom and Dad, I was not wrong. Yeah. Documentary will be out for launch, guaranteed. Hold on. I got to parse that.
Before launch. So you're saying Q2 of 2023 then. Damn, Jerry.
God. Oh, trigger. There's going to be a lot of triggering.
Yeah, someone's going to trigger for that.
Documentary will be out before launch. I'm trying to think, is there anything to that? Will be out before launch. I mean, you're saying 2023. If that's the case, Jerry, you're saying 2023. There we go. Love the end of the movie announcement. Glorious exit. There you go.
Yeah.
Bob.
I mean, from a market, as little as I know about marketing, that sounds like a great marketing plan.
And we have a rich founder who is totally aligned to Never Rug Pull and also marketing genius. I think we're in good shape. Whatever happens, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, man. You've been warmed up properly now. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
What are the most profitable strategies you've come up with so far for the following projects and scenarios? First one, HEX in a bear market. What's the most profitable moves you can make HEX in a bear market?
Well, I mean, you're gonna hate me. Maybe other people are gonna hate me. But just buy it. Like in a bear market, buy it.
DCA basically.
DCA. Like there's no point in timing dips because every time we thought we were going to see the bottom, there was a nice run up and another plunge and another run up and another plunge. So, just DCA and don't put all your eggs in one basket over time. But yeah, DCA is my go-to plan for HEX in a bear market.
Okay. HEX in a bull market. Once we get back into bull, what is the most profitable strategy you think of for that?
Lock your coins up so you can't sell them.
Save yourself from yourself.
Exactly. Because I mean, this is one of the saving graces with HEX is like if you get, let's say, a 40x and you have $1,000 in there, or maybe it's big, maybe you got 10 grand in there, or maybe after you're up to 10 grand, your investment's up to 10 grand and it doesn't have a 40x. You got 400K all of a sudden sitting there. And for you or I or anyone, that might be enough money to change your life temporarily. But if you took those profits, you could cut yourself off of a $40 million purse or a $4 million purse in another year or two. So by locking up your tokens, it hurts because you're going to look at that money and you could really use it. And you might want to end stake, but you're not going to, and you don't, and you get that big payoff at the end. Well, guess what? In the meantime, you actually get Hedron, and there's Icosa coming up where you could stake that Hedron. So you can make money off of your free money. So realistically, if you're in HEX and you're not staking it, knowing you're going towards a bull market, I really think you're doing it wrong. Maybe have 5 or 10% liquid, if that's your, however much in your bag.
I was going to say, depending on your scenario and your life goals and things like that, you may not want to stake 100%.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. Yeah. 100% is a big commitment, and even with the free Hedron that you can get out of it, it's not like you're getting billions of Hedron for even 100,000 HEX stake. Even if you stake 100,000 HEX for 5,555, you're not getting a billion Hedron, even if you advanced all of it. and then let it default. It's not like you're able to do, you're getting in the hundreds of millions, maybe. I think at the, maybe, I don't even know what that would be. I haven't done the math. It's probably 5. I have to do the math. I haven't, but it's probably not a lot. And so, but still, you have it staked, you have exit liquidity. If you need it in Hedron, you have 5 or 10 or 15% of your bag. And then Icosa is coming out soon, which they're probably already announced in the stream going on in the background.
The stream that you're not watching.
The stream that you're not watching. Exactly. That you'll be able to gain Icosa, and you're going to be able to stake your Hedron and make more money off of your free HEX stakes, or not free, but your HEX stakes. So staking in a bull market for HEX.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that Hedron 10x bonus is over. So maybe you can make some money when the 10x is going on. A 1x, you're not, even no matter how big your HEX stake is, you're not going to be a rich man using that, getting Hedron from I don't think, unless you are a mega whale, unless you're a god whale. Maybe god whale can do it these days.
Exactly.
PHEX pre-bridge, most profitable strategies.
See, this is the tough one because it really depends on whether you got into the Pulse sacrifice or not, if you went in heavy enough on the PulseX or you missed both. And then really what you value when it comes to like long-term, because, you know, I think you're probably similar to my train of thought here, is that PLS and PLSX are both kind of going to want a slingshot after launch. So to a degree, at least, right? So I think that, you know, I guess there's 2 ways to look at this. One is that your PHEX is free tokens, and you plan on bringing your Ethereum HEX off Ethereum or your funds off Ethereum and migrating them to PulseChain. If you're going to do that, you could look at your funds on Ethereum as your actual HEX investment and migrate those over and utilize your PHEX as just liquidity to move around as you see fit. And if you're looking at it from that vantage point, you could even break that up and say you keep, assuming that there's a somewhat close to parity between the 2 hexes, that you could maybe bring your Ethereum HEX over and hold maybe an extra 10 or 15% of the PHEX and just add that to your stack. And then the remaining 85 or 90%, you move around to either Pulse or PulseX and have a bigger stack on those 2 tokens as well. But for me, I think that for copies, I mean, I'm probably just going to sit with them. You know, I think that personally, I don't want to move stuff too much because this is so experimental and we have no idea how many people are about to come on board. And we have no idea what that's going to do to price of anything. You know, we could really think that PulseX is going to be the moonshot. It's got the buy and burn and it's super deflationary. But what if the majority of people coming to PulseChain hear about Pulse and HEX and they don't know about PulseX, and all the money goes into HEX and Pulse, right? Because PulseX is the new kid on the block. Pulse has been talked about for a while. People know about PulseX, but it's the exchange, right? To really understand it, you kind of have to learn a lot about it.
Not as sexy, not as easy to palatable for new people.
Exactly. HEX is, you know, savings account on steroids, blockchain certificate of deposit. You know, there's a whole bunch of easy, like quick little things you could say to make people kind of get the gist of it within a sentence, you know? And what if the money doesn't go to PulseX? Well, then all of a sudden you moved all your money to 50-50, one thing that probably went up and one thing that didn't. And if you just left it in HEX, maybe HEX shoots up, and especially because it's on PulseChain and it's less tied and less correlated to the rest of the market. There's less holding it down. Maybe it shoots up in a way that we wouldn't have expected, and you really regret it then. So, I mean, for me, I think that just kind of keeping, unless you really, really want to get something that you haven't already had, got a bag of, unless you really want to get a bag of something, I'd say keep your funds. If it's me, keep your funds where they lie and maybe allocate a small amount or a portion, whatever you see fit, to whatever token you want to get more of.
Yeah. And I think the people who sack big for PulseChain, which not too many, not nearly as many. Well, yeah, but who sacked like really big, who have enough where they can say, hey, all the PX you're going to be trading in, I have enough. I'm willing to part with some Pulse because I'm getting an extremely good deal. I think it's going to be irrational. It's going to be, at least for like an hour. For an hour pre-bridge, it's going to be like, whoa, these ratios are insane. Like there's going to be some major deals to be had. Now, which side of that deal you're on, that's the hard part.
Exactly.
But if you got a lot of PulseChain, and you want to part with some and you want some PX, you think PX has a bright future, you may get some amazing deals in the early days.
Yeah. Well, especially because a lot of people are, or had been, you know, holding HEX for the copy to then use to switch to something else or swap something else.
Yeah.
At least for a while there, that was a consensus. I think USDC was shifting people's minds. And now because of the whole thing with Tornado Cash, I think now people are starting, not everyone, obviously, because it's still kind of very niche where the information sits. You know, I think that's going to slowly turn away too, and that next alternative will come up. But I think you're right. I think it's a great perspective. I think, yeah, people are going to be taking advantage of that cheap PHEX if it comes.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yep.
PulseChain pre-bridge launch.
The whole pre-bridge strategy you're talking about, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think your best bet is to allocate 30, 70, 60, 40, 50, 50 percentage of your funds that you want to move in the pre-bridge. And whatever you think is the safer bet, do the higher percentage on the safer side and the lower percentage on the more risky side. So 30% pre-bridge, 70% post-bridge. And the reason for that is, you know, there's a predictable moment in time when the bridge goes live where you'll be able to roughly do the math on the ratios that were copied over and know roughly what you're paying for any given token. That being said, that's going to go away so fast. And I mean, by so fast, I'm not talking moments. I'm talking hours, maybe even a day or two to really shift, because there is going to be a fair amount of liquidity in these pools, like especially for pairs that had USDC, even though it's not worth anything, you know, to circle. It still will have a lot of liquidity in those pools. And so for that pool to actually move, it's going to take some time. So the problem is, though, even if there is a window of predictability in the beginning, that's going to shift. And as it shifts, everything is shifting and morphing with it. And you have no point of relativity for everything to be connected. So you know how everything's moving. You're just going to have these random things moving around, you know, disconnected from each other to a degree. And you're not going to know if you made a great investment or a poor investment until everything goes live and Pulse has its first pair and we get price discovery across the chain.
Glorious, glorious price discovery.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be really crazy.
Like buildings can be burning down, just like servers, just hard drives just dying. It's going to be, the FOMO is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen before. I
literally
can't see it any other way.
Oh man, I can't wait for Twitter to blow up on that day. Like it's going to be nuts. Like Twitter is going to be broken. Their servers are going to crash. Discord's going to crash. Like,
yeah, Discord,
everything but PulseChain.
Telegram, like all the vulnerabilities in Telegram are going to suddenly appear, and
exactly.
It's going to be mass FUD everywhere. It's going to be hey,
you know what? On that note, I'm realizing now that that's probably because we're having so much time. And I actually think I'm going to make a video on something like this soon. And if you want to, please do this as well, because this is something we need to talk about as a community, you know, with this big event coming and there being so many people wanting to pile in, so many new people seeing opportunity, that this is potentially a very dangerous point of time that's going to occur for scammers. Because how much information is out there right now about PulseChain? A ton. How long have you been talking about it? For a long time. How much information have these scammers been able to come up and figure out? How much have they been able to scam people already? If they know there's a day and time where they're going to be able to take advantage of people, you can bet every dollar you've ever owned and will own that the majority of those people that find out that information are going to target you and everyone else, you know, trying to make the money you would have spent on Pulse or PulseX or in an ecosystem, trying to make you part ways with your money. So
definitely,
gotta be very careful.
I'm sure they've been allocating resources and gearing up. They're probably ready to go right now. They're ready to go for launch just like we are. Unfortunately, so that's going to be fighting the scams. It's going to be a battle too. Wow. We should definitely talk more about that.
Yeah, that's honestly, I'm glad we had this conversation because that's the first time I've thought about that, and that's a big deal, actually.
Yes. PulseX in a bear market. How do you do well with PulseX in a bear market?
Well, you just honestly, again, the simplicity is best here. Hold it. It's deflationary. Even when the price isn't going up, everyone else has to make the system burn it to use the system to trade on PulseChain. And unless all the other exchanges get a ton of liquidity that competes with PulseX and they get cheaper fees, the majority of trades will go through PulseX on PulseChain. And so by just holding it in a bear market, you're going to see either a safety net against price depreciation, or you'll actually see price appreciation depending on what's happening. Or I can see a bunch of different reasons why just holding. Plus, even if you're just staked, if you have use a single-sided staking pools in a bear market, I mean, you're doing even better than just holding it, because now, even if you're holding or earning, I don't know, even if you're holding $5, $10, $15 a day, it's not like in HEX where you have to wait 15 years or 5 or 6 or 2 years to see that. You get that whenever you want. So if you are making $100 a day, or if it's $20 or whatever, you can use that at the end after it's accumulated to then, if you want, buy back into PulseX. You can take it out as your own income. You can do whatever you want with it, but it's helping you. It's a saving grace just by holding it, and also by staking it, you're actually making some of your money back that you're losing.
Sound to me. Hedron generally, and with nuance of Icosa coming.
Oh, sorry. So I missed so Hedron just in general?
Yeah, just in general, the most profitable strategy for Hedron that we know of as to date, the way things are, and then kind of like the nuance of Icosa coming in.
Right. Okay. Well, right now, the most profit. Okay. So as much as it's cool to mint Hedron with HEX right now, the best way to take advantage of Hedron is to buy Hedron right now. There will be a point in time where it's actually cheaper to buy HEX to get Hedron. That may be way down the road. But right now, the best strategy for getting Hedron is to buy Hedron, because as price appreciates, there will be a point in time where the amount of Hedron you can get from an HSI in borrowable Hedron will be equal. So the amount, so in a 1T share 5555 stake, you can mint 5,555,000 Hedron. And let's say it's $480 today. And it's the same. That means that you'd basically have that 5.555 million Hedron will be also worth $480, right? But until then, it makes more sense to buy Hedron before that point. And then afterwards, it's going to float up and down. Well, it'll make more sense to buy Hedron. Then it'll make more sense to buy HEX, do advance, sell the Hedron for HEX, and do cycles. But that's all coming. And that gets really complicated really, really quickly. So right now, buying and accumulating and holding, just knowing that the way Hedron's price and supply rarity, or the price appreciates, and how the supply functions, and how easy it is to mint Hedron, the more you get now, the bigger position you're going to have in the future, because there's a chance that the whole overall supply actually deflates a bit, and that could escalate or de-escalate over time too. It really depends on how events play out over time, and like how much Hedron is minted, or how many people that have maybe these 10x stakes forget about their Hedron, right? Maybe a large portion of them that are going to mint in the billions over the course of their lifetime, they just forget about them, right? All of a sudden, that supply that would have grown now is shrinking a little bit. And because of the way that the Icosa and these liquidations come onto the market, and people have been buying them, the liquidations usually go for more Hedron than they're worth by quite a bit. And so in the early days, before it actually gets to a point where Hedron is at that arbitrage point, people are going to be overly using their Hedron to buy the HSIs until that doesn't make sense anymore. And I think we're a little ways away, especially if price is going up on HEX on average. Even if Hedron is outpacing it, that price coming up on HEX is going to make that gap that needs to be closed for that arbitrage point kind of being stretched at all times. And it's going to be needing to go up quite fast for Hedron to get that. So I know I said a lot there, but buy Hedron now, and then go watch the Icosa stream that is going on, not now, but after.
Do not leave this channel, okay?
Do not leave. But go watch that. Go get super familiarized with Icosa and understand all the ramifications for how to utilize your Hedron and what makes the most sense for either getting Icosa or staking it or using your HSI, and what you want to do from there. But buying Hedron now is probably going to be the best time you're ever going to see Hedron after the next few months here, I believe.
Well, it did 10x recently, so maybe not like not today, maybe.
Right.
But it's definitely, I would be watching for a dip in Hedron.
Right. Yeah, it might not come as soon as we think. There's a few resistance and support points, but the few that we've seen, they've kind of been blown past. We've really hit one support point, blew past it, came back down, kind of ascending triangle upwards, and then kind of just took off. And so we're kind of on the bottom of one right now. So I think that we're gonna hit
Mm.
some resistance through to like close to the 27. There's 5 zeros into 27. So that might be one of the chances to get in before we really take off and go up to the all-time high again. Because after that, there's no real resistance points. Everyone just let it go up until about point or the 8, whatever, the 8 numeral, the 7 numeral, or whatever we hit.
Yeah, I think it was like 8 something, 9, maybe 9 something. I can't remember.
It's been a while. We might have touched 9. I think we wicked up to 9.
Yeah, the launch. I remember the launch. It was it went up a lot.
Yeah.
Maximus and Team. What strategy you got for that?
Honestly, I mean, it's tough because they've made it so difficult to make minting Team just make sense that it's a gamble. And you have to take a risk in order for Team to make sense. And you have to be willing to bet that what will happen within the ecosystem of Maxi, the Perpetuals, and Team will be in your best interest. And there's just no solid ground to stand on that front. It's all murky. It's all kind of muddy. It's like you can't really find footing there. It's literally a shot in the dark in a way. And so I think Maxi is a very safe bet. You know, I've done my own projections, both conservative and based on the actual math that goes into the inflation year after year over HEX, plus the number of shares in existence, how much they contract each year. And if any of those models are even remotely close, Maxi is going to be like an unbelievably valuable asset in 10 plus years. It is going to be mind-bending how much that thing is accumulating as it gets up to its 15-year mark. So honestly, I think Maxi is nuts because it doesn't share the bigger pays better bonus. I think it's amazing. I think Team, if you're going to participate in Team, unless you want to go just all in and you want to risk it for the biscuit, take a percentage and that's it of your Maxi, or even buy an additional percentage of your total bag to use specifically for Team. But Maxi is going to be worth a lot in my opinion. And I don't personally see the benefit to giving up a majority position of your Maxi for Team for the risk. It could be the best play ever. And I could just not understand what's coming, obviously, because I can't. And what could come could be far superior to anything Maxi could deliver, but it's impossible to say. And Maxi, I believe, is going to do so good on its own, you know?
Nice. Yeah, we got one requested one, liquid loans. You know much about liquid loans or any strategies on that?
Well, you know what? I'll say this. I have not looked into liquid loans nearly at all. Reason being was I hadn't got there, but now after I've kind of paused because I want to see, I've heard, and I haven't confirmed this. So this isn't me stating anything weird about them. This is just like, I've heard mixed things about like people leaving and moving to different projects now. And it's got me confused, you know? And so before I talk about it, I want to have clear air and understand why. Was there legitimate reasons, or is the protocol still good? Like what's going on before I ever talk about it? So I don't have any strategy to share right now, and I won't be talking about it on my channel until that's all cleared up and there's no more questions or uncertainty going on there.
That's fair. Yeah. I think, even since last year, even during the SAC phase and stuff, then I saw it as having the most potential for utility for PulseChain, just because the borrowing factor and the the never selling, all that type stuff, collateralizing loans, just staking. Yeah, I see huge potential in it. It seems like they have hit some speed bumps, but I got to say it's still one of my favorite projects, and I definitely wish them the best because that's one of my favorite projects. That's one of my favorite types of projects in the ecosystem. Is there is a problem, people needing to sell, they need money now, they want to, staking PLS, stuff like that. And other than, the other ways you can do it, through delegated proof of stake and stuff. But I just see them as providing, if they're able to be successful with the project, utility. And they're not another meme coin, for example. Nothing wrong with meme coins, but I like coins that do things. And, that more than just really tricky game theory, more than just, this and that. They have a platform. They're going to have a platform. That testnet's been a long time coming. I think it's finally out, but I hope they do well, because I actually it's one of the few projects I'm like, I want to use this. I want to use their product. So I hope they do well.
It does look really good. And I will say that, like, from what I've seen, I think that it does add value to the ecosystem, especially knowing what's been going on behind the scenes with all of the stable coins. And I mean, if we have our own proprietary stable coin that's detached from constitution or hold on, not constitutional. What the heck am I trying to say here? What's the big C word?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
it's just the corporate money, the institutional money. No, institutional money. It's detached from like big centralized entities.
Oh, okay.
Like
Gotcha.
Circle Finance. It's its own thing. It's decentralized. That's really cool. And as long as people are understanding that, you don't put 100% collateral in and expect yourself to not get liquidated, don't be dumb. Put at least 1,000% collateral in. 1,100 to 1,200 is probably best, but be safe. And I think it'll be an asset to the community, especially because it's making people not sell their pulse. That's huge.
It's got a lot of promise for sure.
Yep, I agree.
Next, you've written a piece of liquid loans in your blog. No, I haven't actually. One of the few projects that I really like that I haven't wrote a blog about. Although I've done quite a few videos, a lot of clips on the RHMax channel. If you just search YouTube RHMax liquid loans, a lot of very good clips. I've interviewed, almost everyone from that team. I know it's a huge team. Got a little smaller recently, as you
right.
noted.
Yep. Right.
But I interviewed both of them, both Jexa and Jesse as well. But I interviewed a lot of people from liquid loans, and so there's a lot of content on my channel for that. Have you heard of PulseX with Rackham? I have not. No, don't
haven't either.
That one. We forgot to have a moment of silence for the daily payout. All right, everyone, moment of silence. 10 seconds for the daily payout. All right, and we're good. We are good. I think I counted to 10, didn't I? I think so.
I think that was 12.
12-ish. Yes. So yeah, speaking of blogs too, that's something I think we have in common that not many people do. Not a lot of bloggers in the HEX community that I've came across. And correct me if I'm wrong. If anyone in the chat especially has heard of other good blogs in the HEX community talking about, technical content, stuff like that, let me know. But that's one thing that struck me about you that was unique and authentic, was you actually create content in the spoken word, in text and things like that. And that was cool, I thought. And you can always tell people who, if you're able to write stuff down, research, put it together, video format's great, audio format's great, but if you put it in text, it's just so much more evergreen in a lot of ways. So what inspired you to do blog? Did it just make your life easier writing stuff down? Because I do that too. I'll write a blog and I'll be like, I'm going to talk about this on stream. This is like, now that I got all my ducks in a row. So.
Right. Yeah, it started actually because with that podcast I mentioned about taking care of your own needs, like the mental, physical, and financial health. There was a cryptocurrency episode we did, and it kind of just came out where I'm like, I'm going to do a presentation. I'm going to write this thing. And next thing you know, it was like this 25 slide presentation, and it's still up on my website called Cryptocurrency 101. I think there's probably some little mistakes in it. But whatever. I live and learn. I'm going to leave it up there, just so people can show that I'm still learning. I'm not afraid to show I messed up if there is mistakes in there. So that started it. And then it was kind of like, I had that in the back pocket when when the website came up. I wanted some content. I started making, I didn't want to do the YouTube thing yet. And so I was like, I saw the Peter Schiff and Richard Hart debate and made a little write-up on it. And then there was the NASCAR, and I made a little write-up on that. And then I was like, well, now what do I do? And then I wrote about Free Pulse, and I started writing about PulseChain, and I was like, oh yeah, I had this other cryptocurrency thing that I wrote. And so I had that whole thing saved, put that in a format. And from there, basically going from commentary to actual dissection of what's going on and analyzing stuff and getting more technical, it slowly kind of evolved into what it is. And when the YouTube thing came about, it just kind of made sense to just kind of make it all one thing where it's like, you can listen to what I say verbally, or you can read it and it's the exact same thing. And it just it ended up being like that. And it is still actually to this day, all the blogs you see, except for the 10,000X video I just did, the bear market plan that I did.
Very controversial.
Very controversial, I know.
You should have wrote in parentheses PulseChain 2023 ?
I should have. I can still change it. I can still change it.
Yes, yeah, you can.
I could.
Not too late.
It's true, but even for all my videos, I still do that. Like all the Hedron videos, the Maxi videos I've done, not the interviews, but the Maxi video I did, all that was just scripted. And then I just took that and literally pasted it in blog. Done.
Hey man, I couldn't tell. I would have never done the difference. And I feel like I'm a very observant human. So I think people, not a lot of people could tell, I imagine. So good work, like making it work, making it go well. Like that's not easy either.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, and you maybe have the same thing too. Like you find your style though, you know, and I find that I write like I want to speak, not how I speak, but how I want to speak. And so that kind of, especially on video, it's great because like how I want to say something, just like as it's me still, I'll write it like that. And I'm sure you found your style that comes out in that way too.
Yeah, I think funny enough, both ways. Like when I'm writing, I can't always come up with the passionate speeches that I feel like I can get to on video because I'm not like hyped. I'm just like sitting down, like researching and going back and forth writing.
Yep.
But on the other side, when I'm speaking, sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I had all this in my head, which is funny too. Like I don't want to have it all in my head. I don't want to use my brain to store all these amazing facts. Like I want to write them down and then refer back to them. I want to have links to them because you only got so much space. And, you know, I always say like, you know, interviews. I hate interviews where, you know, the interviewer asks you something you can memorize. Like that's not a good interview. You don't ask questions that people can memorize. You ask them, hey, how would you do this? Like, give me a scenario. Give me, you know, walk me through and then you can test their experience. But if you ask me how to do a certain thing or what is this thing, something I can Google, it doesn't make any sense. So I've literally the last few years of my life, I've tried to like stop memorizing stuff. Like, but that's where the ball comes in. Now I can do the research. I can write it all down. And now when I want to talk about it on video, hey, maybe I have a tab open for notes I can refer back to, and I can not get stuck of like, oh, I want to tell you more, but I don't have it in front of me. No, I do because I wrote it down before I did the research. I put in the work for it. So pros and cons for both.
Yeah, it is really nice to be able to have that tangible thing you can fall back on, and like it's still in your words too. You know, you could even like read from it and not even and people won't even know that you're really reading from it. It's great for refresh. It's just, it's so nice to have, honestly. And it's good. It's so cool to be able to point to people, you know, even people that, you know, that can go and read it and then you can talk to them about it afterwards. Cause like, it's really easy to say a lot in a video, especially when it's just like my face or your face, just like up here. And then it's just like, they hear the words, right? It's totally different to hear the words and grasp something. For some people, they get it. For a lot of people, they don't. And so to see the words and be able to go back and like, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? Until they get it is so powerful. And then you have people coming back and they actually ask you better questions. And it just creates a better dialogue, I've found. This in my personal life and even on YouTube and Twitter.
Definitely. No, I think, we have a lot of similarities there, man, for sure.
We definitely do. Yeah.
I want to ask you a controversial question.
Uh-oh.
So I was talking to Jerry Oaksmith about this in Telegram earlier, and it's something I've talked to Dixon Piper about, and I feel like I have good footing on it too. But I want to get your thoughts. So basically, the argument goes it's splitting buying power. That's the mental model. So essentially, if you have coins and you want certain coins to do really well, if you keep introducing other coins into an ecosystem that may get people interested and take capital away, it's harder for the blue chips, for example, in this case, could be HEX, PLS, PLSX, to 10,000X. Like that's kind of like the premise is all the meme coins that come out, all the even utility tokens, even the projects you love. Technically, the model we're talking about is they're splitting the buying power. They're taking the economic mass that could be put into them, the consciousness that could be put into them, and they're distributing it among other things for better or for worse. Now, I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad. My point would be that it's a trade-off, and that you could make a case, I could make a case that if there were less other coins in the community, if there were less projects, if there were less things, and again, I love community projects. I did a lot of good ones. Like I said, I'm a fan of liquid loans and all this stuff. But technically, if every dollar that goes into other projects could have been a dollar that goes into RH products specifically. So how do you think about the trade-offs between supporting the things that can help the community grow, onboard new people, all these wonderful community projects we have? How do you do you process that with, hey, is it putting the risk of 10,000x, or is it pushing up the timeline even? Instead of doing it in 2 years, if we have all these great community projects that are providing value, but they're also taking capital away, does it take 3 or 4 years for PulseX to 10,000x, all this stuff? How do you think about it?
It's tough. There's so many angles to like consider. I think the big thing that's screaming to me is, if those projects weren't there, those products weren't there, would we get the same adoption on the network? And if yes, then yeah, I could see that being a bit of an issue. It's like, well,
so the numbers I just came up with today was like, we add 15% more adoption, but we lose 35% capital. That's just throwing it out there.
Right.
Like that would be the case against more meme coins, community projects, things taking capital.
Right. So then my question would be, okay, long term, because they're meme coins and people like, I don't know if this is a fair assumption, so I'll ask you here, just make sure this is a fair assumption, that sure. Let's say over the course of 5 years, you invest in something in an ecosystem, and over that course of that 5 years, you tend to learn a little bit more about that ecosystem and what makes it tick. And especially like, if you're going to keep investing in it, you tend to learn more about what makes the core of that ecosystem. Right. And so is that a fair assumption?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's definitely, I would like to hear more positives, because I can see so many negatives that it's kind of making me, swaying me on one way, but I would like to see if there's things that are missing too, that are like, hey, there's this huge positive benefit that comes from it. The keeping the people in the ecosystem, for one thing, would definitely be one. Right.
Well, the other way I'm seeing this too is like, okay, if you have people investing in the ecosystem itself, and those things are, in comparatively speaking to the highly engineered, structurally sound PulseChain, HEX, PulseX, those things over here that maybe people have a lot of money in, I think it's very possible that, within 5 years, that money sees the people holding those investments don't actually see those investments as being the best place to hold their money, because they're like, you know what, maybe I see everything is kind of peaking, but you have these things like PulseChain and PulseX that, they haven't really been going up too much, but like they've been solid, and they're actually, like, when you look into them, they are the meat and potatoes of the whole network. And so that actually makes more sense. So, I see it's a cycle, like, okay, more of a cycle. I see people come into the ecosystem, the money builds because it's money still in the ecosystem, and you need Pulse to transact on the network, period. So, I mean, you don't need a lot, and it's going to be so cheap for a while, even if it's in the dollars. Like even in a moonshot, maybe it's, let's say it's $5. You want to buy 100 Pulse for transactions. Well, I mean, A, you're probably good for a year or two, and then B, it's $500. And if you've made a bunch of money, it's not a whole lot to you. So, and personally, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, a 10,000x is great, but at the same time, like, the ecosystem itself is what we're going for here. And we're not trying to build an ecosystem for 10,000x. We're trying to build an ecosystem for people to get away from the actual thing that has been making crypto not be what it was supposed to be. We're trying to detach ourselves in a way, and why the hell should we be so pointed on our 10,000x that we oust the people that we're trying to also save by creating the network and giving them a place to land,
Okay. So I think that's a good point too. What are you optimizing for? Are you optimizing for 10,000x? Are you optimizing for a community strong and vibrant for a long period of time? Because it has so much, mass of people into it, because all amazing projects. But if you say the most important thing to me is 10,000x, it seems like economic energy from other things around it, even though they add the community and the features that we want, like borrowing and staking and all this stuff. Still think there's a case for that.
And there is. Like, price performance is like everyone wants price performance. No one in their mind doesn't want.
If you had to choose one thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course, you're gonna choose price performance, at least to a degree. It's in there. What I will say too is that over time, if you give people a place to come that has great projects, it's a great ecosystem, it's detached, it's actually decentralized, it's actual crypto, it's not institutional money kind of crawling around under the surface, basically you will get adoption over time that I could see propelling all of these tokens and these products to those prices anyways, because over time, maybe it's 5 years.
You'll be so rich, it's not going to matter. That kind of argument. Okay.
Yeah. I think that, when you build the core of something so well, even if in the first couple of years, yeah, sure, you don't get the price appreciation you could have had, because that core of the ecosystem is so damn good, you're going to bring far more users over and far more money over in the long term than you ever would just by focusing on 3 products.
Yeah, I think, so when I was talking to Dixon Piper the other day, it really struck me when we were having a conversation about Hedron. He was like, I like Hedron. I like the NFTs factor. I like what it brings. I like the product, but I don't like the economic mass that it's technically taking, people there. I don't think it's crazy to say some people have probably sold their HEX. They've sold maybe their SAC stuff that they would have put towards PLSX and put it into Hedron, for better or for worse. So I think that was just the technical point he was making. It struck me as, wow, that is very interesting. Like, I hadn't thought about it that angle. That's what made you want to go down and say, is there, I think it really is what you optimize for. Maybe you're a person who optimizes and says, okay, I'm okay with 1,000x on Pulse and PulseX. I'm okay with the 5,000x. If the community and the projects and the features are there and it grows in the way that that I want to see it, maybe you're okay with that. Maybe like you said, 10,000x. We shouldn't sacrifice everything for 10,000x. Maybe that's a conclusion too. So I think it just comes down to, I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think the technical aspect is clear, but how much it matters is based on what your goal is and what your situation is. So.
Right. And it is kind of like, we say 10,000x, it is kind of like the pipe dream, and it is great because HEX did it. And we kind of have this, we kind of have expectations without having expectations at this point. At least on paper, we say we don't have expectations, but everyone's expecting a 10,000x, and let's put that in perspective.
I don't think it's too crazy, honestly.
I don't think it is either, but the fact that we're expecting it, I think if we got 100 or 1,000x, that's mind boggling, and I think that, if economic energy moves around in a way that we don't get the 10,000x and we get like a 2,000x or 3,000x, I'm like, to me, it is what it is. I think it's beautiful. Like, what's great in my mind, at least, about having something like Hedron and Maxi and all these things built on top of of HEX is that you incentivize buying HEX, to get something. You can also buy that thing, which at a later point incentivizes you to buy HEX to get that thing again and pulls the price of HEX up. You lock up HEX for a long period of time in order to basically do the 1, a 3, a 7, a 10-year stake, perpetually into the future. I think that there's just way more positives to the things that are being built. And plus too, in order for someone to understand Hedron, they have to understand HEX. And if they understand HEX, they might not put all their eggs in one basket because holy crap, this thing HEX is nuts. And Hedron's built on top of it, right? The more you learn about these products, the more exposure you have to HEX. And the more these things succeed, the more chance HEX has of getting heard, I think, at least, and learned about by the masses, especially as all of it succeeds together. Can you imagine, in 5 years, headline being there's basically this talk about this HEX, Hedron, or I still don't even know if it's Hedron or Hedron. So if I'm changing up here, I don't even know.
You're changing up, but it's okay. I like it.
I can't make up my mind.
You can't be wrong if you're only wrong half the time.
That's true. Or if I'm right half the time.
Your glass is half full, sir. Your glass
is always. Yes. But I can just see it being this thing of people talking about how successful Hedron was, how successful Maxi is, and then also how successful HEX is. And it's this triple threat that's basically built on top of HEX, that has spiraled this whole ecosystem with PulseChain and everything up into oblivion past anything anyone's ever seen. It's because these other things exist on top of the thing that we really, really love at its core, is what I think. So I think we need them.
Yeah, that's a good perspective. Yeah, I think I tend to agree. I don't know, that it also makes me think of are we both socialists? Are we okay paying higher taxes if we get more benefits? it kind of reminds me of that analogy, but I know it's different. But it's just that kind of thinking of, are you okay with not 10,000x if community grows bigger and, more pie for people and things like that. I think if we had an economic study on this, man, that would be nice. Anyone who's an economist or can do some good maths, let me know, because I would like this to be like an official study. I would be interested in that.
That'd be really
or if there's better analogies for it.
Right. I think even if we were that route, I think I might have a very different opinion, even in the way I'm saying that. I think it's just because the nature of and the ethos of the crypto sphere that's coming, and with PulseChain, I think I have a little bit of a different opinion. They might be actually similar, but I've never actually gone too far down that rabbit hole. Thinking about my life. But anyways, yeah, it's an interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid point. Again, it's just how you see it, how you optimize for what you want. I think Dixon Piper's point, he opened my eyes to it. I thought it was worth talking about. And I think it's a valid point and it's true, but how much it matters depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
I think that's the best conclusion I can come up with on that so far.
Yeah, I think it's a great conversation at a minimum, and it's a valid one as well. It's like, this is one of the things, there is no right answers. And it's just cool to think about it, to understand, a broader perspective in general. And I like it. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's great.
Definitely. All community projects out there, all PulseChainers, everyone, I love you. There's no hate going on. We're just having an intellectual conversation about buying power. That's all.
We love you. We welcome you. Thank you.
Yes. I will have a fiat crypto on tomorrow. Actually, speaking of new projects, they have a token which the sale ended. It's very interesting. They did like a 2.5 mil cap on their sacrifice, I think. And you don't see a lot of products capping it. So I'll get into that with them tomorrow. Tomato. We've solved it for you, Jerry. Thanks for that conversation earlier on Telegram. You inspired. You brought out the beast. You got the beast. Man, it's been great. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time. I knew as soon as we got on the panel, I was like, good. I finally get to talk to him, and hopefully he likes me enough to come on the show one day, and because I know we're gonna have a good conversation. So I'm so glad we got to hang out. It's very, very, very cool to meet you,
dude. It's great to actually finally get. We met on the conference, but it's great. Thank you for bringing me on. You're awesome. It's great to talk to you. It's very easy to talk as well, and I feel like this is almost like how it would be in real life. We just like end up bantering for a while and talking about things, for hanging out. It's like two buddies having a conversation kind of thing, which is great. So
if you come to Vegas, we'll make it happen, man. We'll make it happen.
Dude, I've already got that carrot dangling right here.
Make it happen. And I promise you, I'll save you a free shirt, a free mouse pad, a free pin. I don't know what else I'm giving out, but yes, I'll make a little package. I'll put CRYPTOGRFX on it, and it'll be waiting for you if you decide to come.
Oh man, if and I don't know how this could ever work, but if I could make it happen, it would happen. I will say that.
Okay. Well, let me know if it does. Put it on Twitter, DM me, whatever it is, and I'll make sure to save you a bag of swag. Bag of swag,
dude. Just save me one of those bag of swag. Thanks, buddy.
Of course. Well, man, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna try to see if the other stream is still going on and see what's going on there. The other stream, of course, I'll send everyone, go to Crypto Sloth's channel. He's got Alex, the founder of Hedron, on. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and not all dogpiling. His stream, he had like 150 people. He doesn't need any more, okay? Thank you for coming here. But now that we're finished, please go over there, support Sloth's channel. He does great work, super smart guy. I know GRFX will agree with me. He loves him too. Yeah. Underrated. Is there a more underrated person in the community? He's on the list. I'll say the list at least.
He's on that. If he's not at the top of that list, he's one of the top few, if not the top.
Yes. We need to unchain Sloth. We need to ungatekeep Crypto Sloth.
Sloth for goat.
Good. Yes, Sloth for goat. Yes. All right, man. Let's see what we got tomorrow. I'm doing 3 days in a row because I just do that sometimes. Tomorrow I got Fiat. Yeah, I got Fiat Crypto coming on. I got Dylan from there. And then Friday, I got Nerd Girl. I think Nerd Girl 007 is coming on.
Nice. So 2 great interviews.
Should be a good conversation, both. Yeah. And I'm gonna try to get some rest. Although I may jump on Sloth stream still going, and we'll see. And you have an excellent. It's what, 8:30, almost 9 o'clock your time.
No, it's 5:49.
Oh, you're on the West
PST.
Coast.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I assumed Toronto this whole time. I assumed somewhere East Canada. Okay.
Do I sound like I'm from the East Coast?
I don't know. Well, you sound Canadian. So I don't,
okay.
Is there different Canadian accents on the East and West?
Actually, yes. definitely.
I'm ignorant of that, so I'm curious.
Totally. Actually, there's quite a diverse array of accents. I'm from the Yukon originally, and so there's quite a thick accent up there.
Oh wow.
Come down to
yes.
BC. Yeah, you come down to BC, and it's like a little bit more kind of just West Coast, a little touch of Canadian, a couple A's, little boots, couple. You know, hear that every once in a while. But then you go to the East, and it's like, dude, good luck understanding them. Like, oh my God, it's so funny. Not all of them, obviously. Crazy. That's just Newfoundland and like deep in Newfoundland.
Oh yeah, I've been to Newfoundland. Yeah, I've seen a Newfie in Newfoundland.
Oh, dude, you've probably seen my family.
Oh, there! Wow, man, you're in the country, man. You like Yukon and then Newfoundland. Like you're not. I always assume everyone I meet from Canada is either from the Toronto surrounding area or maybe not Quebec, because you would know if they speak French and stuff,
of course,
or Vancouver. But I always assume Toronto. But I should stop doing that because you're from crazy places. I like it.
There are crazy places in Canada. It turns out,
very authentic. Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, now you're going to tell me like you have cousins in Yellowknife or something like that.
No, I don't think I have cousins, but I lived there for a little while. I didn't like it.
Oh my God, you lived in Yellowknife?
Not for long. It was like I was there for like a month and a bit. I had to stay and work and live there, and I was over it after a week.
I bet I would not want to live there for long. I mean, beautiful place, but good for visiting. I would say more than anything else.
Wow, go for like a day, crazy. In and out.
Dude, you got to come back, and we're going to discuss Yellowknife and all kinds of more stuff too.
Dude, let's do it. That'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
So good. But I'm gonna let you go because you got stuff to do. Probably eating dinner or something too. I imagine since we're on the same time zone. I had no idea. Amazing, amazing. Everyone, tune in tomorrow. Tune in the next day, and then I'm gonna take the weekend off because I'll be really tired after streaming 3 days in a row. I know first world problems, but I only got one problems. So, yeah. All right, man. And with all that, everyone, we are out.
Peace.